Hey guys, so today we're going to round decimals. Basically rounding decimals is when you have a large decimal number with a lot of decimal places in it and you want to turn it into a shorter number, okay? So let's jump in and have a look at some of the things that we need to know. So we're learning how to round decimals. So in this lesson, we are going to learn how to round decimals, and sometimes we need to eliminate unwanted decimal places. So we want to make the number a little bit shorter. And in order to be successful in this topic, you need to understand what the critical digit is and what its function is, okay? So firstly, we're going to talk about the difference between a decimal point and a decimal place, okay? And we're going to learn how to identify critical digits, okay? And we're going to look at the new last digit when we round. We're going to talk about whether it needs to increase by 1 or it needs to stay the same. Now, as always, a lot of this information might be a little bit overwhelming when we start with, but hang with me, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at the difference between decimal places and a decimal point. Okay guys, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to look at the difference between decimal points and decimal places. So let's have a look at this slide here. Okay, and it says the number below has 7 digits in it. So they are the 7 digits there, 12.08976. But only only the digits after the decimal point are decimal places. So that means that those 2 digits there, 1 and 2, are whole numbers. So they're actually not decimal places. Okay, they are whole numbers. But the 5 numbers that come after our decimal point, which is this here, are decimal places. So that means that this number here has 5 decimal places in it. Now, this is really important because when we ask you to answer these questions, you're going to be given a certain number of places to round a number to, okay? So it'll say round this number to 2 decimal places, or round this number to 3 decimal places. So being able to identify how many decimal places are actually in the number to start with is a really important skill. Okay, so now let's have a look at exactly what a question would look like for you when you do this a little bit later on. So, number 1, identify the number of decimal places you need to round to. So you will find that information out in the question. So here's a question for you. It says, round this number to 2 decimal places. Now this number here is the same number that we used in the last slide. Okay, so 12.08976. It currently has 5 decimal places, okay? So when we give our answer, we're only going to want to have 2 decimal places, okay? Everything here is going to disappear, all right? Point 2 says draw a line after the specified number of places. So here we go, we've got our number here and we've drawn a line in between the 2nd decimal place and the 3rd decimal place. So all you need to do is you need to count. If it says round this number to 2 decimal places, we just count 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, and then we draw a line, okay? So you draw a line after that specified number of decimal places. Now, the next part is the number to the right of this line is called the critical digit. So the 9 there, because it's on the right of that line, it's called the critical digit. And it's going to decide what happens to the number on the left of the line, okay? Which in this instance is the 8, all right? So let's flick through to the next one. If the critical digit is between 0 and 4, the green number stays the same. So we're talking about our critical digit here, which is the 9. If it is between 0 and 4, this number in green is going to remain the same, okay? However, that's not the case for us. The critical digit for us is between 5 and 9, okay? And it says if the critical digit is between 5 and 9, this green number here is going to have to go up by 1, okay? So if your critical digit is between 0 and 4, the number to the left of the line is going to stay the same. If it's between 5 and 9, the number to the left of the line is going to be going up by 1, okay? So that means that number 3 here, point number 3, when we have our final answer, we remove all of the decimal places to the right of the line, okay? So you can see here with our answer, what we've done is we've increased the size of our 8 by 1, so it is now a 9, okay? And all of these decimal places that were on the right of the line are now gone, okay? They have disappeared. That is basically how we round decimal numbers, okay? Okay, so now I'm going to get you guys to have a go at doing some of these questions, all right? It's really important that you follow a few critical steps here when you're doing these, okay? So these are the questions that you're going to be doing. Now, when you start this, it says round the following decimals to 2 decimal places, okay, to 2 decimal places. So that means that you're going to have to draw your line after the second decimal place. So we've got 1 decimal place here, 2 decimal places there. I would draw my line. So in every single one of these questions, make sure you draw a line after the second decimal place. And I always put a little bit of a box around the critical digit because that reminds me that that number, if it's between 0 and 4, this number here on the left stays the same. If it's between 5 and 9, this number here on the left, which is a 6 also, needs to go up by 1. All right, it's time for you guys to have a go at these questions. In 2 minutes' time, we're going to go through the answers. Okay, so hopefully you got some answers there. So let's jump through to going through what the answers were, and let's see if you got some correct. So here they are. So the first one here, 1.166. Once again, we're rounding to 2 decimal places. So that means I count 1, 2, and I draw my line, okay? This is my critical digit, and up here I'm just going to write between 0 and 4, stay the same, okay? And then here 5 to 9, up by 1, up by 1. So our number on the left of the line, it's the one that is going to either stay the same or get changed. And in this instance, it has to go up by 1 because my critical digit is a 6, which is between 5 and 9. So my answer there would become 1.17. Number 2, once again, I draw my line after the second decimal place because all of these are going to 2 decimal places. My critical digit this time is a 2, so that means it's between 0 and 4, okay? So that means that my number on the left of the line stays the same, all right? So my answer there is just 0.05. The next one, once again, let's cut my line. Now this one's a little bit trickier, because When we add 1 to our 9, it's obviously going to make my answer into 2. Now, that can happen, and it's completely fine if it does happen. All I would do to signify that I still have 2 decimal places is to put 0.00, okay? That's all I would do. Next one here, I count 1, 2 decimal places, draw my line. My critical digit is a 2, meaning that my number on the left is going to stay the same. So my answer there is 3.09, okay? Now remember, our goal here when we round our decimal numbers is to get rid of these unwanted decimals, okay? These unwanted decimal places. All right, hopefully you did okay with those. We're going to have another practice of some more questions next. Okay guys, so sometimes the questions will be asked a little bit differently, and you may not always have to round a number to a specified number of places. It may change throughout the question. So what I mean by that is with this question here, it says round the following decimals to the specified number of places shown in the brackets. So all that means is that this number here, okay, we need to round to 1 decimal place. This number here, we need to round to 3 decimal places. This number here, we need to round to 1 decimal place. And this number here, we need to round to 0 decimal places. So I want you to have a go at those now, rounding them to this number of decimal places, which is shown in the brackets. Okay, have a go at those now. I'm going to give you maybe, let's say 2 minutes again to get through these, so 30 seconds each on each question, and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, so hopefully you were able to get some success there with these questions. So let's go through the answers. So the first one here, it says to round to 1 decimal place. So I count 1 decimal place and then I draw my line, okay? My critical digit is the digit that's to the right of the line, and it's a 7. Now a 7 is between 5 and 9, which means that the number to the left of this one needs to go up by 1. So my answer here would be 2.4. Next one, question 2. It's 3 decimal places, so I count 1, 2, 3, and then I draw my line. The number to the right of the line is once again between 5 and 9, meaning that the number to the left of the line needs to go up by 1. So that means that my answer here would be 128, okay, 0.128. Question 3 here, I need to round to 1 decimal place, so once again, I count to 1 decimal place and then I draw my line. The number to the left of the line is the critical digit, okay? And it's between 5 and 9. So once again, this number to the left of the line needs to go up by 1, meaning that my answer is going to be 6.9. Now, question 4 is a little bit different because it says round it to 0 decimal places. Now, when we round to 0 decimal places, we basically just draw our line straight over the top of the decimal point because we're saying that we're going to have no decimal places in our answer. We're just going to have a whole number. So my critical digit is a 5, which means that the number to the left needs to go up by 1. At the moment it's 0, so it goes up by 1 to the number 1, and that is my answer. Okay guys, so in that last lot of questions, in the very last question, we had one that said round to 0 decimal places. And that leads us into our next lot of questions really nicely, because what these questions are is we are rounding the following to the nearest whole number. So basically in every single one of these, we're rounding to 0 decimal places. So every single one of your lines here will need to go over the top of the decimal point. Okay, they'll need to go over the top of the decimal point. So have a go at these questions and then we will go through the answers. Good luck. Okay, so hopefully you got some answers for these ones. Let's go through them. So the first one here, once again, this makes it rather easy because we're just drawing a line over the top of the decimal point in every single one of these questions. Okay, so it makes it a bit easier for us. So my critical digit here is a 0, which means that the number on the left is going to stay the same. So my answer for number 1 is 9. For my next one, my critical digit is a 7, which is between 5 and 9, which means that the number to the left of the line needs to go up by 1, okay, and it becomes 8. My next one here, I've got a critical digit that is a 9, so that means that my number on the left, my digit on the left needs to increase by 1, meaning that my answer is 15, okay? And my last one here is a little bit tricky because our critical digit is a 3, which means that my number to the left needs to stay the same. And that means that my answer is obviously 0, okay? It's 0. Now, I hope you have been able to have some success with those questions. Please, if you have any more questions, just ask me and we can continue to go through it, okay? You just need to remember where to cut that line, okay? The number to the right of the line is the critical digit, and then the number on the left of the line is the number that either stays the same or goes up by 1. Good luck.